Hey, so it looks like y'all's second assignment is has to do with styling your website, and that brings along like the idea of CSS, which means cascading style sheets, and that's what styles your website, um, and it um, really is used to kind of latch on to a tag and add style to it. And so if you want to style, you know, many things, you can do a tag that encases other tags. So if I styled my HTML tag, um, then all of my website would get that style. So I'll kind of show you that. And the way to style components is you can add in the header section, you can add a style tag, HTML tag, and we'll close that out. Um, and then inside that style tag, we can add all of our styles. So what that means is if I want to add a style to any of my body elements or maybe everything, I can add it right here. So I could say HTML, and then I have open brackets, um, and I could say let's say background color, and then this is our key. This is our property. We call it background color. And then the value that we give it is the actual value we want for our background color. So let's say like red, and we'll save that. We'll look at the website. If I refresh, you'll see the background's red now. So that's pretty cool. Um, so I can make this gray, a little easier to look at. Um, and I can go a little deeper, so I can keep the styling on my HTML. But remember, it cascades. So if I want some more specific styling to a specific tag, I can actually add it as well. So I could say H1, let's say my H1 tag, I want to style it. I'll put all my styles within these braces. And so the property I want to style is, we'll say color. That's going to be the text color. Um, we'll say white because our background is gray. So refresh that, and we see only the H1 got styled. Um, Now what I can also do is I can add styles directly to the tags. If we remember, we can add attributes to our HTML tags. So I can add an attribute called style equals, and then I'll add my styles directly here. So I could essentially do this right here, background color, and place it in here. And I'm gonna say green, just to show you that the priority of adding styles here, which we call it inline styles because it's inline to our tag. Our inline styles takes priority over this style right here. So if you look, that now our body got a green background. So if I were to add body up here, and I add a background color of say blue, we refresh, we're actually not going to see it because our inline style takes priority. So if I delete this and then I refresh, that blue is going to pop up because now we're not overriding it with the inline style. And so I can add all my styles directly inline if we want. And we could essentially just delete all this and not even use this style. Um, there we go. So this gets a little messy though. Let's say we have like 10 different styles for each component. Then that's going to get a little hard and cumbersome to organize. So we really like having all of our styles in this nice little style section. We'll go ahead and add a couple of those back. We'll say body, background color, gray, and we'll say H1. We'll make the color of the text white. So that's good. We refresh. That looks good. We can go even a little farther, and we can add, instead of adding the style here, we can add a link to another file. So add a link tag, and we'll add an attribute called href for that tag, which is a reference, a hyperlink reference, and we'll call it styles.css. And just remember that the relation is, it's a style sheet. We'll just kind of memorize that. So we have two attributes here. We have href and rel. So this href, it doesn't have an actual URL like HTTPS. So it's actually going to look right next to it on the file system, and it should see this styles file here. So if you look, when I try to refresh my website, it's going to look for two things: my index file, which we have, which is good, and then a styles file, which failed because it read my HTML document and it said, oh, there's a link to this styles file. Let's go look for that. But it didn't find it because it doesn't exist. So let's create it. Let's create a new file. We'll call it styles.css. And I'm just going to copy that styles that I had before. And you see we lost our styles here. But if I refresh, I get my styles, and this styles.css file exists. So it brought it in, and that's what style my website gets. So you see this is a .css file. It's a CSS file. .html, that's an HTML file where we have our tags. We specified our CSS. This is what CSS looks like. So we give it a tag name, and we give it a property and a value for that property. We have our tags, and they have attributes. You have an attribute, and then you have a value for that attribute. So href is a link to some file, and that file happens to live right here, right next to our other files, HTML file. So that's pretty much CSS in a nutshell. To go even further, I absolutely love this website, MDM, which is Mozilla, and they are the ones that made Firefox browser. If you go to MDM in Google, Mozilla Developer Network, it's a free resource, and they have tons of information on HTML, CSS. You see like learn HTML, learn CSS, learn JavaScript. You could spend tons of times on these, and it's a really great resource. And what I usually do is I'll go to, say, MDN, I'll say CSS, and then I'll say background color, because I don't know much about background color. There it is. I'll go look at this, and it'll tell me about it. The background color CSS property sets the background color of an element, either through a color value or the keyword transparent. So we'll just think of color value, and it gives us some examples here. So you see, this is how you use it. You specify the property, the key, and then the value, which is pretty cool. Later on, you can look into it. Colors can also be specified with hexadecimal values, and then even red, green, blue values. That's a little more in depth. We don't have to worry about that. But yeah, this is a really awesome resource. You can even just go to the main website and look at this and say, oh, I want to learn HTML. I'll go look at HTML documents. There's tutorials. There's references, which we were just looking at for background color. You can see all these different types of tags that exist. So you can only imagine putting these tags together in some order and creating like a really beautiful website. And I can go click on one of these, like the H1 that we remember. So there's H1 through H6. These elements represent 6 levels of section headings. It tells you a little bit about that. You can read up on it. You can see examples. It'll even show you what it would look like. So we can see 1 is the biggest, 6 is the smallest. But this is a really good resource. I could spend hours and hours on this. But yeah, CSS and HTML.